Welcome to the Ultimate Sports Podcast. Today is Tuesday, September 10th, 2019. Today I'm going to recap yesterday's Monday Night Football doubleheader and look ahead to a little bit of Week 2 and some of the storylines, and then baseball, go over yesterday's games and look ahead to tonight's games. FIBA World Cup, we're going to catch up with all of that from the weekend and from yesterday and today, and look ahead a little bit to tomorrow. College football overreactions for top 25 teams from last week, and best bet of the day, as well as Week 2, guess the lines for NFL. All right, we're going to start, obviously, with football. The first game of the doubleheader was the game of Week 1. Saints over the Texans, 30-28, game-winning 58-yard field goal by Will Lutz as time expired. This was a fantastic game. The Texans actually took the lead with about 37 seconds left as Deshaun Watson threw a 37-yard touchdown pass to Kenny Stills. And then extra point gives them the lead. And then Drew Brees, it took him 37 seconds to put together a nice drive, or less than that, I should say. And the Saints come away with a enormous Week 1 victory. Drew Brees, 32 for 43, 370 yards, 2 touchdowns and a pick. Deshaun Watson, 20 of 30, 268 yards, 3 touchdowns, and an interception. Okay. Next game, the Raiders defeat the Broncos 24-16. A nice win for John Gruden's team. They're 1-0. Denver's 0-1. Derek Carr looked solid, 22 of 26, 259 yards and a touchdown. Joe Flacco, meanwhile, was not good. 21 of 31, 268 yards and a touchdown. Denver just made too many mental mistakes in this game, and it ultimately came back to bite him. In this game, Deshaun Hamilton dropped an easy touchdown pass in the end zone, which led to a Brandon McManus field goal. That could have changed the game, but who knows, because Oakland wound up scoring after that. Josh Jacobs had the 4-yard touchdown run to start the fourth quarter, and then McManus came back and hit one to make it 21-9, and then Daniel Carlson puts the Raiders up 24-9, and then Flacco to Sanders make it 24-16, and that was the garbage time touchdown for the Broncos as the Raiders wind up winning this game and forget that Antonio Brown was even on their roster about a week ago. So, got to give the Raiders credit here for putting back Antonio Brown and focusing on game, and that's why I picked the Broncos. I picked the Broncos because I thought the Raiders would be just distracted with the Brown stuff, and ultimately the team that looked distracted with the the Brown stuff was the Steelers, who put up a whopping 3 points in New England. But we'll save the Steelers and the Patriots and all the other teams for another day, as the Raiders are off to a surprising 1-0 start, and the Broncos with a very disappointing Week 1 performance. Going to look ahead to Week 2 a little bit. Thursday night, you have the Buccaneers and the Panthers, 8:20 on CBS. No, it's NFL Network. And then 1 o'clock slates, Bills, Giants, 49ers, Bengals, Chargers, Lions, Vikings, Packers, Colts, Titans, Pats, Dolphins, Seahawks, Steelers, Cowboys, Redskins, Cardinals, Ravens, Jacksonville against Houston. 4 o'clock slate, Chiefs, Raiders, Bears, Broncos, Saints, Rams. That's the rematch of the non-call in the playoff game. And then Sunday Night Football is Eagles, Falcons. Monday Night Football is Browns, Jets. We'll get to guess the lines in a couple minutes. All right, baseball. Not a big slate last night at all. Only 8 games were played. Yankees over the Red Sox 5-0. They take 3 out of 4 at Fenway Park. This is probably their first series win at Fenway Park in a few years, so that must feel good for the Yankees a little bit. They're 95-50. Boston is 76-68. James Paxton the win. He's won 8 straight starts. Eduardo Rodriguez the loss. Paxton, 6 2/3 innings, 4 hits, no runs to walk, 7 strikeouts, rate 3.96. He should be their game 1 starter. And it's not just because he's pitching so well. It's because they have their money best guy with game on the line, possibly going in an elimination game 5 in the first round in Masahiro Tanaka. So that pretty much breaks right from a Yankees perspective on why you want James Paxton in game 1. Then you would get him in game 4 with a couple off days. And then you have in game 2, you'd slot Tanaka. Game 3 would be like Severino or Herman, whoever is pitching better at the time. We'll talk about more with this once the playoffs roll around. I'm probably going to have a couple guests on the podcast to preview October baseball and whatnot. And the Yankees' rotation is certainly one of those things. It's a concern because they haven't done it against the Astros in the big spot other than in June. But we need to see it to believe it once they play Houston. But it's certainly a good sign for Paxton that he shut down a good offense in the Red Sox. And he's just been playing or pitching very well since the beginning of August. Braves over the Phillies, 7-2. The Braves inch closer to clinching the division. They're 90-55. Philly 74-69. Mike Fulton-Average to win. Aaron Nola the loss. Fulton averaged 7 innings straight and a run, no walks, 7 strikeouts. ERA of 5. He's pitching better lately. Aaron Nola 6 innings, 6 hits, 4 runs, 4 walks, 7 strikeouts. ERA 3.7. Mets over the Diamondbacks 3-1. Pete Alonso with 2 home runs. He has 47 on the year. He's about to break Aaron Judge's rookie record. The Mets are 73-70. Arizona 75-69. Jacob deGrom the win. Merrill Kelly the loss. Seth Lugo the save. Jake deGrom was excellent as always. 7 innings straight and a run, a walk, 11 strikeouts. ERA 2.7. Merrill Kelly 6 innings, 7 hits, 3 runs, 2 walks, 5 strikeouts. ERA 4.68. So a quality outing for him. Brewers over the Marlins 8-3. The Brewers are 75-68. Miami is 51-92. Matt Albert's the win. Robert Duggar the loss. Jordan Lyles 4 1/3 innings, 4 hits and a run, 3 walks, 3 strikeouts. ERA 4.38. Duggar 3 innings, 4 hits, 2 runs, 4 walks, 3 strikeouts. ERA 4.29. Astros over the Athletics 15-0. The Astros are just putting runs up like crazy. They're legit outscoring football teams. I can name you 7 or 8 football teams that they outscored in these 2 games, including the Pittsburgh Steelers, the New York Giants, the New York Jets. Just rattle on and on, especially Sunday when they put up 21 against the Mariners. It's funny to think that baseball teams can outscore football teams. Anyway, Houston 95-50, tied with the Yankees for the best record in the AL. Oakland 84-60. Zach Greinke to win. Mike Fiers the loss. Greinke 6 innings, 2 hits, no runs, no walks, 5 strikeouts, rate 3.32. Mike Fiers, his worst start of the year. This was probably a little overdue because he was just so good for 4 months, and you knew an implosion was probably bound to happen, and it happened in the worst possible time for Fiers' sake. An inning, 9 hits, 9 runs, no walks, and a strikeout, ERA 3.97. That start is going to damage his season totals in terms of his ERA, his win-loss total. And everyone's like, oh, if it weren't for that game, his numbers would have been better. So that's an outlier game for Fiers for sure. Pirates over the Giants 6-4. A devastating loss for the San Francisco Giants. They're 69-75. Devastating in terms of that they should have won this game, in Pittsburgh out of nowhere came from behind and won as they go to 63-81. Richard Rodriguez the win. Fernando Abad the loss. Felipe Vasquez the save. Trevor Williams 5 2/3 innings, 8 hits, 4 runs, 2 walks, 6 strikeouts, ERA 5.21. Madison Bumgarner 7 innings, 6 hits, 2 runs, 2 walks, 5 strikeouts, ERA 3.77. He was pretty good. Indians over the Angels 6-2. Cleveland is 84-61. LA 67-78. Shane Bieber to win. Patrick Sandoval the loss. Bieber 7 innings, 5 hits and a run, no walks, 8 strikeouts, ERA 3.17. He pitched very well. Patrick Sandoval 3 1/3 innings, 5 hits, 3 runs, 2 walks, 4 strikeouts, ERA 5.28. Cubs over the Padres 10-2. Chicago 77-66. San Diego 66-77. Kyle Hendricks to win. Cal Quantrill the loss. Kyle Hendricks 5 2/3 innings, 7 hits and a run, a walk, 5 strikeouts, ERA 3.33. Quantrill 4 in the third innings, 10 hits, 8 runs, 2 walks, 5 strikeouts, ERA 5.12. Today's games at 6:40, you have the Yankees at the Tigers. You have Edwin Jackson for Detroit. So either way, this should be a Yankees win regardless of who they start. It's undecided right now. I know CC Sabathia is supposed to come back on Wednesday, which is tomorrow. So maybe they go with an opener in this game. But no matter what, New York is going to destroy the Tigers tonight because Edwin Jackson is flat out the worst pitcher in baseball. 7 o'clock, Braves-Phillies. Max Fried and Jason Vargas. Dodgers-Orioles. Walker Buehler and Ty Black. Red Sox-Blue Jays. Nathan Eovaldi and TJ Zook. Diamondbacks-Mets. Zach Gallen and Zach Wheeler. Gallen's pitching very well for Arizona. Brewers-Marlins. Chase Anderson and Elieser Hernandez. Nationals Twins at 7:40. That's a big series for both teams. Aaron Sanchez and Jose Barrios. Big series for the Twins in terms of they got to play well against a good team because it's a team I'm not really sold on in terms of making a serious playoff run. But to me, they have to prove that they can beat good teams. I mean, they beat the Astros, but that was back in April, and the Astros really weren't playing well before they kind of turned it on. Lost the series to the Yankees, in which they should have won. If it wasn't for that great catch by Aaron Hicks, they probably win that series against the Yankees. But to me, they just have to prove themselves against good teams. The Indians, I know they've beaten them, but some of that was recent. And don't forget that Jose Ramirez is hurt, so the Indians not at full strength. So, big series for the Minnesota Twins here. 8 o'clock, Rays-Rangers. Ryan Yarbrough and Lance Lynn. Rays obviously need games down the stretch because they are fighting with Oakland and the Indians for that wild card. Royals-White Sox. Jacob Junis and Ivan Nova. Athletics-Astros. Tanner Roark and Wade Miley. Let's see if Oakland can bounce back there. And Wade Miley can bounce back. He had that horrible start against the Mariners. And then Houston wound up saving his ass and coming back and winning that game. Cardinals-Rockies at 8:40. Michael Wacha and Chichi Gonzalez. Obviously, the Cardinals need these games to wrap up the National League Central. Pirates at the Giants at 9:45. Mitch Keller and Johnny Cueto. Cueto making his 2019 season debut. Kind of interesting that they're doing it this late in the season when they're out of it. Maybe they can see if they can get anything for him in the trade market because maybe they decide to move on from Bumgarner and begin a rebuild. So maybe they're showcasing Cueto here a little bit to see if somebody's willing to take on his onerous contract. 10 o'clock, Indians-Angels. You have Zach Plesac and Jose Suarez. Cubs-Padres. Jose Quintana going for the Cubs, who's been pitching very well of late as well. And Ronald Bolanos going for the Padres. And last but not least, the Reds at the Mariners. Trevor Bauer and Justice Sheffield. Both of those guys have been disappointing for their respective teams, especially Bauer after coming over in the trade. FIBA Basketball World Cup. We have not talked about this in a couple of days because I had other important things to talk about on the podcast, but something that we have to go over because there's some very, very interesting results from the weekend and whatnot. We're going to go over Friday's results as well because I don't think I even went over those on Friday's podcast. But if I did, then we'll probably just go over them again just to catch up. We're going to go by groups, actually. We're going to start in Group I. Friday, you had Poland defeat Russia 79-74 and Argentina over Venezuela 87-67. Then on Monday, that's Sunday the 8th. Venezuela over Russia 60-69. 69-60, Russia over Venezuela. I misread that. Wow. That was a blunder on my part. And then Argentina creams Poland 91-65. Group J. You had on Friday Serbia over Puerto Rico 90-47 and Spain over Italy 67-60. Sunday, you had Italy over Puerto Rico 94-89 in overtime and Spain over Serbia 81-69. Group K, Saturday the 7th, Czech Republic over Brazil 93-71, United States over Greece 69-53, so U.S. beats Giannis. And then on Sunday, you had Greece over Czech Republic 84-77 and the U.S. over Brazil 89-73. Group L, Saturday, Australia over Dominican Republic 82-76, France over Lithuania 78-75. Monday, Lithuania over Dominican Republic 74-55 and Australia over France 100-98. And then you have Group M, which is pretty much consolation games with a couple of these nations that really did not advance far. Friday, you had Nigeria over Ivory Coast 83-66, China over South Korea 77-73, and then Sunday, you had South Korea over Ivory Coast 80-71, Nigeria over China 86-73. Group M, N, as in Nancy. Iran over Angola 71-62. Tunisia over the Philippines 86-67. And on Sunday, Tunisia over Angola 86-84. And Iran over the Philippines 95-75. Group O. This was a Saturday-Monday situation. You had New Zealand over Japan 111-81 and Turkey over Montenegro 79-74. And then Monday, Montenegro over Japan 80-65 and New Zealand over Turkey 102-101. Group P. On Saturday, you had Canada over Jordan 126-71 and Germany over Senegal 89-78. Monday, you had Jordan over Senegal 79-77 and Germany over Canada 82-76. And then the final phase began today. So this is the quarterfinals. You had a big upset today. Argentina over Serbia 97-87. A lot of people thought that Argentina really didn't have that much of a chance, but here we go, and Argentina will take on the winner of U.S.-France, who will play tomorrow. Also, today you had Spain over Poland 90-78. Spain will take on the winner of Australia and Czech Republic on September 13th. That's Friday in Beijing. And Spain, obviously, will play Czech Republic or Australia. And then you have the 5th to 8th classification that starts on Thursday. Serbia will play the loser of United States, France, and Poland will play the loser of Australia, Czech Republic. And then the 5th place and the 7th place games will take place on Saturday. The 3rd place game will be Sunday, and then the championship game will be on Sunday as well. Okay. College football overreaction. We are going to go through the top 25 from last week and discuss some overreactions. So, Boise State Marshall, my overreaction is Boise's offense not as good as we saw against Florida State? True or false? I'm going to say false. I think it is as good as we saw against Florida State. I just think that Boise State had a little bit of a letdown spot here, and they'll rebound, although they did get the win. Ohio State, Cincinnati. Ohio State. Is the Big Ten's theirs to lose? True or false? True. I picked them before the year. I thought Michigan was overrated, and I thought Ohio State was being underestimated. So, true. Michigan and Army. Michigan, this kind of coincides with the last one, won't win double-digit games. True or false? I'm going to say true. I had them at 9-3 before the season. Iowa and Rutgers. Obviously, Iowa got the shutout win. Iowa. Will they go on a nice run to start the season and will be either a one-loss or undefeated team by week 7? True or false? I'm going to say false, and I think they suffer multiple losses before then. Syracuse and Maryland. Syracuse. They are not the second best team in the ACC. True or false? I'm going to say true on that one. They really have showed that they're not what people thought they were. And I certainly didn't think that they were the second best team in the ACC before the year. I thought the second best team in the ACC before the year was Florida State. And who knows about that one? I'm probably wrong because they should have probably lost to UL Monroe. And they've blown that big game to Boise State. We'll see how they look against Virginia next week, who could be the second best team in the ACC. And the perception before the season was that Syracuse was the second best team in the ACC. So, in terms of the overreaction, I guess they're not the second best team in the ACC. I think that's a true that they're not. Utah, Northern Illinois. Utah will finish the season with less than 2 losses. True or false? I'm going to say false, and I think they drop multiple games. This one's going to have 2 because there's obviously 2 ranked teams involved. Texas A&M will finish with 4 losses against Alabama, Clemson, LSU, and Auburn. True or false? If those are the only 4 losses, like I'm suggesting in this true or false, I'm going to say false, and I think they drop one more game that they shouldn't drop because they haven't swept the Mississippi schools in a very long time, probably since Johnny Manziel was there, so I'm going to say false. And then for Clemson, Trevor Lawrence is no longer the favorite to win the Heisman. True or false? I'm going to say true. He really has not looked good these first 2 games. And it's kind of reminding me a little bit of other guys that we saw. Like, I remember JT Barrett, everyone had him winning the Heisman that one year, even though Ohio State won the championship without him and won it with Cardell Jones. I'm not saying he's as bad as JT Barrett, but I think that's a parallel in terms of a Heisman favorite that we kind of overhyped before the year. I'm not suggesting that Trevor Lawrence is overhyped or anything in terms of like JT Barrett bad, but he might not be as special as we think he is. So I'm going to say true that Trevor Lawrence is no longer the favorite to win the Heisman. True or false? Wisconsin will represent the Big Ten in the Big Ten championship game. Or I'm sorry, the Big Ten West. I'm going to say true, because I had that before the season. True or false? Nebraska is who we thought they were. True or false? I'm going to say false. Because a lot of people thought that Nebraska was the favorites in this conference because of Scott Frost and Adrian Martinez. And I was not high on Nebraska at all. I think I had them at like 8-4 or 7-5 even. And I bet they're under. And ultimately, I think I'm right. And the media is obviously wrong. Alabama will get to the college football championship game for the 5th straight season, I believe it is, right? Yeah, 5. True or false? I'm going to say true, and that was my pick to win the national title before the season. They've absolutely looked like the best team through 2 weeks so far. And that's no disrespect to Georgia or LSU. And Georgia, true or false? Jake Fromm will represent the Bulldogs in New York for the Heisman Trophy ceremony. True or false? I'm going to say false, and I'm going to say that he stumbles a little bit along the way. Maybe Trevor Lawrence kind of gets back on track, and obviously you have Tua, you have Joe Burrow, so you have some other guys that could potentially get in there. Jalen Hurts, so I'm going to say false for that. Washington State is going to win more than 7 games. True or false? I'm going to say false. They have had a soft spot of the schedule to start their season, and that's a team that I could see kind of unraveling. But you never know with these things. But I'm just going to say false and say that they won't win more than 7 games. And I had them at 7-5 before the season. True or false? Alabama, former Alabama quarterback Jalen Hurts will win the Heisman Trophy, and he'll be the 3rd straight Oklahoma quarterback to do so. True or false? I'm going to say false. Although I would not be surprised if he's representing the Sooners in New York. UCF will represent the group of 5 in the New Year's Six Bowl. True or false? I'm going to say false, and I think Boise State eventually passes them as that team. And I think UCF has some potential stumbling blocks along the road, unlike Boise State, because I think the AAC is better than the Mountain West. Obviously, the next one I have to do too, because both of these teams are ranked. LSU will beat Alabama in Tuscaloosa on November 9th. True or false? False. People are already saying that they're going to beat Alabama. Just LOL, you guys. LO freaking L. And they have not beat Alabama since Les Miles was there a long time ago. So, false, 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 false. I need to see it to believe it first. Texas will not represent the Big 12 in the Big 12 championship game. True or false? I'm going to say false, and obviously this was a non-conference game, and their defense really isn't that good as what we saw in their LSU game, but their offense is certainly Big 12 championship caliber, so I think Sam Ehlinger will carry them there, and ultimately it'll be the Red River rivalry in that game when it's all said and done. Auburn. Are they not as good as we think? True or false? I'm going to say true. I really was not that impressed with Auburn in that game against Tulane. They probably, I think, should have scored more on Tulane. And obviously it took a miracle comeback by Joe Nix to get them to win that game. Bo Nix, my bad. Florida will finish in 2nd place in the SEC East. True or false? I'm going to say that's a tough one. I'm going to say true, although I don't feel good about it. I think I had Florida finishing in 2nd place in that division before the season. And I won't be surprised if they have some stumbling blocks along the way. But at the same time, I won't be surprised if they finish 2nd in that division. Penn State will finish with more than 7 wins. True or false? This is a preseason prediction that I'm going to take the L on. Penn State has looked really, really good these first few weeks. And I think that they are going to be a better team than I projected them to be this season. So true. Oregon will make this Big 12 race interesting down the stretch. True or false? I'm going to say true, and I'm going to say that they're competitive more in their conference games. Obviously, Stanford's KJ Castillo isn't healthy, so that might take them out of the equation in that division. So I think Oregon possibly becomes the team to beat in that division, especially with the Huskies losing against the Cal Golden Bears last week. Michigan State. Are they primed to beat good teams this season, true or false? I'm going to say true. They've done it in the past, and they've always surprised us when we least expect it, so I'm going to say true. Cal Washington. Washington will win less than 10 games, true or false? This is a lock true now because this was obviously one of the games that we thought was an automatic win before the year. But, yeah, yikes. That was a bad loss by the Huskies. Stanford will win less than 8 games, true or false? I'm going to say true, and I'm going to say that the KJ Castillo thing kind of lingers, and their schedule is very tough. So I might take the L on Stanford going 10-2 this year. And that's just unfortunate that Castillo had the concussion there as well. Guess the lines week number 2 in the NFL season. We're going to start with Thursday night as the Panthers host the Buccaneers. I'm going to say the Panthers are a 5.5-point choice over the Bucs, and the Panthers are laying 6.5. All right, so 1 point off. The 49ers are at the Bengals. I have the 49ers by 2.5, and the Bengals are actually 1 point favorite. I think the wrong team's favored there, and I think that the Seahawks just took the Bengals for granted last week, and the Bengals are just a bad football team. Chargers at the Lions. I have the Chargers by a whopping 6.5, and I said that because I just think the Lions just flat out suck, and it's 2.5. So maybe Vegas knows something that we don't. Vikings at the Packers. I have Packers by 3, and that's what it is. So 1 correct line so far. Colts at the Titans. I have the Titans by 2, and it's the Titans by 3. Wow. Patriots at the Dolphins. I have the Patriots by a whopping 14. The Patriots are favored by 18.5, so I was 4.5 off there. The Bills are at the Giants. I have the Bills by 1.5. The Bills are favored by 2.5, so 1 point off. They really think Eli Manning is a liability like I thought he was, and like how Vegas really has lived up to it. And so maybe if it was Daniel Jones instead of Eli Manning, it would be 1.5 because they said that Eli is 1 point negative towards his team. That's a yikes. Seahawks at the Steelers. I have the Steelers by 4. Steelers are favored by 3.5, so a 0.5 point off. Cowboys at the Redskins. I have the Cowboys by 3.5. Cowboys by 4.5, so a whole point off there. And I just thought that it'd be that kind of low because they're on the road, not at home. The Ravens are hosting the Cardinals. I have the Ravens by 10.5, and the Ravens are favored by 13.5. Jaguars at the Texans. I have Texans by 6. Texans are favored by a whopping 8.5. Chiefs at the Raiders. I have the Chiefs by 10.5. The Chiefs are favored by only 8. I just think that people are overreacting to the Raiders' Week 1 win. I just think that the Broncos took them for granted. And obviously the Raiders were home in that game, just like they are against the Chiefs. The Bears at the Broncos. I have Chicago by 2.5. It's Chicago by 1.5, so 1 point off. Saints at the Rams in the rematch of the NFC Championship game. I have the Rams by 3, and that's what the line is. Eagles at the Falcons. I have the Eagles by 3 on Sunday Night Football. Eagles by 1. Browns at the Jets. I have the Browns by 2.5, and that's what the line is. So I got 3 correct guess the line picks for week number 2. A sad story that's breaking news right now. NBA announcer of the Cleveland Cavaliers, Fred McLeod, passed away at the age of 67. That is just a really sad loss for the NBA community, the Cleveland Cavaliers. He spent 24 years in Detroit with their Channel 2 and Channel 4 before leaving for Cleveland as the play-by-play voice of the Cleveland Cavaliers, and he held that position since the 2006-2007 season. And he also called games for the Detroit Lions and the Detroit Tigers. And he was actually the voice of the Lions for the preseason. And that's just really, really sad news that I wanted to break on this edition of the podcast. And it was very sudden passing on Monday evening. And just a very good announcer. And thoughts and prayers go out to him, his family, the Cleveland Cavaliers organization, Cleveland Cavalier fans, and the rest of the NBA broadcasting community, because Frank was one of the better local television play-by-play announcers in the league. Best bet of the day brought to you by DraftKings. There's some interesting games on the slate tonight for baseball that I'd like to put some hard-earned cash on. A couple big favorites. Obviously the Yankees among one of them against Edwin Jackson. And the Tigers. I'd bet the house on the New York Yankees tonight. Minus 265, and I think it should be minus 330 personally. I'm going to go with the Braves on the road at the Phillies. I just think that the Phillies are a team that is just kind of finished in terms of wild card race. I just don't think that they're going to make a push. I love the Dodgers at the Orioles. I'm going to take the I was going to take the Rays, but I don't want to do it. I was going to take the Brewers, but I don't want to do it. They've killed me a lot. I don't want to take the Astros because Wade Miley sucked the last time he pitched. I'm going to go with the Cardinals on the road at the Rockies, and that's the one I'm going to take a chance on. I'm going to go with the Indians at the Angels, and I'm going to go with the Cubs, and that's it. About plus 12.50, a shade above that. Wagering $1, payout of $13.58. That's it for the podcast today. I'll be back tomorrow recapping the baseball games, looking ahead to tomorrow's games, FIBA World Cup, go over the new college football top 25, bowl projections, and best bet. Hope you guys have a great day, everybody.